So today we're going to be talking about A Trouble with Peace, which is the sequel to A Little Hatred, which is just so far away. So this is the second book in the Age of Madness trilogy by one of my favorite authors, Joe Abercrombie. This is a spoiler-filled chat where we're going to talk mostly about characters, talk about this book, and I do have a spoiler-free video where I talked about it, which is what was a reading vlog, which will come out after this. So I'll link it whenever it's out, but that'll be out on Thursday if you want my spoiler-free thoughts. This was an incredible continuation. It was not what I expected it to be. This is spoilers, by the way. You've been warned. It was not what I expected it to be as far as the direction that these characters took, the decisions that they made. I was shocked around every corner. Joe Abercrombie is an author. One of the things that I love about Joe, and that I continue to love the more and more I read his books, is just how much he surprises me. I read so much that I'm so used to being able to call things and to just kind of know the basic structure or even the basic plot armor, what characters are going to make it out alive and what characters will be used for fodder, because when you consume something enough, you get used to it. And I have consumed a lot of books, and Joe does not stop surprising me. No one's safe, we all know that, but also just the directions that these characters' paths will take are constantly surprising me. And it always makes sense. Their characters always make sense. But also just his themes. He has so many great things that he's discussing within the books. I'll read to you a couple of my favorite quotes. This book was so quotable. Just a lot of commentary on the powers that be and corrupt systems and how difficult it is to be a leader in the midst of this corruption, on family and on trauma and on so many things. So many things he really just digs into in this trilogy, and I'm just enjoying it so much. I'm gonna start by talking about Orso. He's not the first one in my notes, but he's the first one that I feel like talking about. Sweet Orso. Sweet Orso, trying so hard. So one of the things that surprised me in my last review of book one, when I was talking about my predictions, my expectations, ways that I expected this all to go, I did not see a good future for Orso, because he's had this life, and then he pledges his love to Savine, and he says, okay, I'm turning myself around, I'm becoming a new man for you, and really he's ready to turn over a new leaf, and I believed him. And then it all came crashing down. So having his proposal batted away in such a seemingly unfeeling way, and how much that would crash down everything that he wanted for himself and every bit of his future that he saw for himself. I kind of just expected to see him backslide and become even worse, except now he's in power too. But I was so impressed with him in this book, and just trying so hard to be good when there just weren't enough good people to have his back. So there were so many scenes of him struggling with the politics, and Abercrombie had quite a few things that he wanted to say about political systems. But so many great lines, like when Orso is trying to make good progress and they're just batting him down around every corner. And they're like, we're not here to do this, we're not here to do that, we're not here to right all the world's wrongs. And Orso says, then what are we here for? And Baez neither smiled nor frowned, to ensure that we benefit from them. So many scenes like that where Orso is just trying and trying and trying, and people are reminding him, yeah, that's not the way it works around here. We're out for ourselves. We're here to get what we can get from the system, not to help the people. As well as like the hopelessness. Joe did such a good job of portraying the hopelessness of being someone in power but having so little power because of the system around you. Like, I think this was a Leo scene. Yeah, this was a Leo scene, so I'm already out of order. This should be in the Leo section. But this quote, I know, but if you're furious whenever the closed council does something infuriating, you'll be furious all the time. Rare anger can be inspiring. Frequent anger becomes contemptible. Contemptible? I don't know how to pronounce that word. Love that quote though. Okay, I'm gonna be done soon, but I just want to talk about Orso. read some of his quotes just a little bit more because he's trying so hard. It was when they were confronting, what was his name? Wetterland, when they were confronting him of a word that I shouldn't say here on YouTube. Grape and murder. Everything. I'm an innocent man. And then they're like, you had witnesses, and also your groundskeeper has already been hanged on the strength of their testimony. And he goes, it was the groundskeeper's idea. He threatened me. He forced me. And Glocta sucked the air between his teeth, shockingly. We've only been here a minute, and you've gone from innocent to coerced. A few moments more, and he'll be a victim. Anyway, Orso, who confronts him and says that he can't just let this guy go. Like, he can't just sweep it all under the rug. There has to be consequences for what's been done. He says, you understand, Your Majesty. You've embarrassed yourself often enough. Orso stared at him. Embarrassed myself, without a doubt, but I've never graped anyone. But I've been really impressed with him in this book, and I love to see it. The members of this exalted body must be exemplars, snapped Orso, glowering at the silent lords, held to higher standards, not lower, and subject to the same justice as any other man. The king's justice, my justice. He's trying so hard to do what's like to stand by what he said, to be the kind of leader that he wants to be. I won't spend this whole video reading quotes to you, I promise, but I could. That could just be the review. I could just let the book speak for itself. Also, just seeing him, how well he works under pressure. You know, he's really just never been allowed to be put under pressure up to this point, which is why we haven't seen his full potential, but he's just the type of person that when the going gets rough, that's when he stands up and handles things. And he's become, I already liked him in book 1, but boy did I love him in book 2. All right, let's talk about Savine, because I have a pattern as a reader to find the bratty, entitled, spoiled, frustrating characters and just bring them into my arms and say, I'll protect you. You'll be mine. I'll take care of you. Just like I did with Felicen in Malazan, that's how I am with Savine. I love her character, even though she's insufferable. She's just been through a lot, you know? She's been through so much. And I just want to take her into my arms and say, honey, I see why you're acting this way. Let's start working through that trauma a little bit so that we can start walking forward instead of continually walking backwards and hurting everyone in your path. So the way her treatment of Glocta is one of those things that I feel like is horrible. Obviously, she's horrible to him. There's one scene where she considers pushing him off a cliff. She's pushing his wheelchair and she considers just dumping him off the cliffside. She's horrible to her father. And I feel for her because he loves her so dearly. I think there was a line where he called her his greatest accomplishment and she despises him. She hates his guts. And I sincerely hope that she's able to come to a full circle and get past this rage that she feels towards her family for the secrets kept from her, and is able to come back around to appreciating the role that he took on in her life, the fact that every breath that she breathes is owed to this man, and realizing he was so good to me. He loved me so hard. And these secrets never should have been kept from me, but he is still my father, despite, I really hope that she has the opportunity to realize those things before he dies. And I don't think we're done with him. I don't think we're done with him. Joe wouldn't do that to me, just like, we're done talking about Glocta now. Bye, he's written out of this. Joe wouldn't do that to me. So I hope she gets that moment with him. Anyway, despite the way Savine treats Glocta, which she shouldn't, she should not, despite the way she treats him, I do feel for her because, okay, speaking from the position of an adoptive mom, I tend to try to put myself in the path of conversations had between adopted children. Forums, articles, videos where adopted kids are chatting about being adopted. And I learn about people who have had great experiences and people who have had bad experiences. Just trying to, we adopted our daughter, and just trying to learn so that I can do my best by my family. And one thing that I have heard many times is withholding the information from your child that they were adopted is detrimental. The stories that I've heard is that parents who have not told their kids that they were adopted and they didn't find out until they were, 18 or whenever, that is very life altering. That shakes their perception of their family, of the value of adoption, almost as if it's shameful that it has to be hidden instead of something that's beautiful that has happened, a wonderful opportunity that this family got, that it's like something to not look at directly in the eye. But also it's really, it rocks a person to find out that they've been lied to their entire lives by someone who they trusted more than anyone their entire lives. Like, that really shakes a person. So knowing that that's like real life experiences that people have when they find out as an adult or as an older teen for the first time that everything that they thought about their family dynamic was false, like knowing that how that affects people. I look at Savine, and I'm just like, oh, you are experiencing something so earth-shaking that this truth that you had for your entire life, you find out that the people that were supposed to have cared for you so much, and we know that they did, we know how much Glocta loves her, and yet for her to respond in this very visceral, angry, hateful, mean way where she's trying to harm him, trying to like verbally harm him, what I see is a kid who should have been told a long time ago and is responding in the only way she knows how. And no, she's not a kid, she's a grown woman. But at the same time, just having kind of put myself in the way of these discussions, I see Savine and I just want to bring her in. I just want to bring her in. I want to turn back time and have her parents have told her a long time ago, so that, yeah, that sucks. Now you got to work through this. Like, let's talk it out. But at least there's been an open dialogue, instead of not only finding out that your whole family dynamic is different from what you thought, you've been lied to your whole life by the people that you trusted and loved, but also now you're in a really, really horrible position where you're carrying your brother's baby. And that kind of sucks. And I think that she deserves to be a little bit mad. But I do also find it interesting that she's kind of just repeating that cycle, right? Like, she's so damaged and hurt by the fact that her parents kept the secret from her. And so how would she do? How does she respond? She does the same thing. She manipulates Leo into a marriage by telling him that this is his child when it's not. Like, she was lied to her whole life about who her father was, so what does she do? She lies to someone about who the father of her child is? I doubt she has any intentions of telling anybody that child, I doubt she has any intentions of telling that child eventually who its true father is. That'd be a rough conversation. Your uncle is your dad. But then too, also, we gotta talk about this baby a little bit. I mean, not only is this child potentially going to have some medical issues from the fact that Savine and Orso are half siblings, but also she's been sniffing pearl dust all this time. She's been badly injured in this book. Like, if this child does end up making it into this world, like, what's gonna happen, Like, it's hard for me to believe that this child will enter this world unscathed. It's hard for me to believe that this kid isn't gonna have some sort of troubles from the beginning, I mean, at the very least, it's a drug baby, you know what I mean? Like, but there's so many more layers to what hindrances this child is going to begin with. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's so many layers to this. I should move on. We should talk about another character now. Leo. Poor Leo. Thinking that his baby is thinking that Savine's baby is his. Being manipulated into this marriage, being manipulated by the closed council, being manipulated by his mother into the marriage as well. That whole scene between Orso and Leo, where Orso is essentially just before the great battle, where Orso is like dancing circles around the poor dope. Leo's reaction to basically his entire philosophy being challenged and potentially proven wrong, and his response is just to double down. It's like, it's a very honest reaction. But also throughout this book, he's so easily swayed, you know? And I wonder how much of that is his upbringing, with how much he's been influenced and kind of pushed around by the people around him all throughout his life, by the way his mom has treated him, by the way he's been coddled and pushed aside. I wonder if him now in a leadership role, just floundering, just not knowing who to trust, not knowing whose advice to take, and just being easily played as a pawn. I wonder how much of that comes from the way he was raised. But at the same time, I kind of find him a little bit relatable, because I definitely am the type of person where I just kind of assume that people are telling me the truth, and I assume people, their intent is good, even if maybe their actions aren't good. I like to assume that they didn't mean to be mean. And because of that, I can be pretty easily manipulated, and I can sometimes not tell when someone is not cool. And the way that I kind of counteract that deficit in myself is I lean heavily on the people in my life that I trust. I ask their advice about the people that want to influence me, if they're trustworthy, or the decisions I want to make. Like, I really lean on the people in my inner circle because I know that my judgment isn't always flawless. And I really feel for Leo, because I think that he's a lot that way too, where he wants so much, but he can't always tell who to trust. And like, how to be that, to have that kind of perception of the world, and to not have that skill of being able to read people and read when someone is out for their own good and is trying to play you. And then the people in your inner circle that you would lean on to help you are the ones that are trying to manipulate you. Like, I really feel for him. The scenes with Leo during the big battle, when we had, you know, the ending of this book it read so fast. It read so quickly. And the final section with the battle was so well written. Obviously, Joe writes battles. He writes these multi-layered, multi-perspective battles so well. And this one was brutal. The bodies on bodies, the people that were lost. Oh, it was devastating. It was so, it was so much. But the scenes with Leo were the hardest for me to read, because I really do think, I think he's got a good heart, you know? He just doesn't have the wherewithal or the common sense to be able to get him through this dark world. And to see him just get beaten down in this battle was devastating. And I actually thought he was gonna die. I'm actually really surprised that he's still alive at the end of this book. We've already lost some of our core first generation, and now it makes sense that we've got to lose some of our second generation. We have to lose some of these new POVs, and I was like, oh, it's got to be Leo. It's gonna be him, and it's gonna be now. And yeah, super surprised that he made it through this. But he's making it through in a position where now his physical abilities have already, you know, he already had the bad leg, so he was already taken down a notch, and he was already not able to do all that he wanted to be able to do. But now, my goodness, like, where should we go from here? But anyway, yeah, he basically, as much as he has fought, as much as he has worked to escape the legacy of his grandfather, the traitor, now he's been brought down and is a traitor. Kind of just fulfilled that, what everybody always kind of put on him. Here he is. He wasn't able to escape it. That sucks. Rika, her perspectives were really, really interesting in this book. I think probably her tussle with the long eye has been really interesting to watch unfold. Seeing her when she's starts having trouble telling the difference between what's present day and what's past and what's the future, and it all starts blending together, and she can't figure out what where anything is. That was really interesting to read, especially with the way Joe wrote it, because I too have no idea, you know, from scene to scene when I'm with Rika. I'm tracking with her and I'm going along in the story with her, only to also realize at the same time as her, no, this isn't happening right now. And that was a really fun storytelling thing that Joe did a couple of times, and each time I was like, I got swept up in it too, and this isn't right now. I love Shivers' role in this book, you know, protecting Rika, but also the dynamic between them, the relationship that they have. I have loved reading that. You know, Shivers is such a human character that's done atrocious things, but he's so sweet to read from. That doesn't seem right. That's probably not the right wording. It's just so interesting because he went from being honorable to being bloodthirsty and spiteful to nihilistic to what he is today. You know, seeing his character progress has been so fun to read, because he's a character that I feel like every move he makes, I just kind of get where he's coming from and what's brought him to where he is. He's just such a fun perspective to read from, you know, his very stark, just sees the world for what it is. He doesn't try to fight it, he doesn't try to change it, he just accepts it and plays his role in it and just tries to protect his own while he's living in it. And I don't know, I just really like him. I love when we get to read from him. Vic, I loved her perspectives, especially here at the beginning. It's so fun to see her like manipulate and fight and bribe her way into what she needs to accomplish in this book. When she just punches the guy here at the beginning and sticks her knee on his shoulder and then just punches down on any part of him that she could reach. And Tallow asks her, what'd you do that for? And it says, she hadn't even thought about it, hadn't weighed the risks or the consequences, hadn't even considered where to hit him or how to make sure he couldn't hit back. If he'd been a tougher man, things could have gone very badly wrong. And then a little bit further down, maybe some bullies needed to be bullied after all. She leaned down over him, hissing the words, "You'll vote our way. You understand? Vote our way, or we crush you like a tick." I loved reading her perspectives, especially here at the beginning. She's so fun. Vic. Did I call her Vika? Vic. And that scene between Vic and Pike, who by the way is the Weaver. Cool, didn't see that coming. And did Glokta not know? I don't believe you. I don't believe that Glokta didn't know that Pike was the Weaver. Anyway, when Pike was talking to Vic about the breakers, and she was just like, I don't know what he wants from me in this conversation. I don't know where this conversation is gonna go. Am I being tricked? Is there even a correct answer here? I felt the same way throughout that whole conversation. I was like, I don't know either. I don't know I don't know where this is going or what he wants out of this exchange. And then he was burning down the banking houses, and Baez himself said that magic was vanishing from the world. So without the banking houses, what's Baez to do? I mean, is the next book gonna finally be the book where he's taken down? Is this when the magic is gone and he's gone too? Is that where we're going at the end of this one? Also, Casca turned on Stour. I mean, it's so funny. He's done this to me twice now in the same trilogy, where in the last book, it was almost over. I thought we had done all that we needed to do, and then just all of a sudden, boom, Wonderful's dead. And then in this book, the same thing, where it's like, okay, the climax is like the battle is done. We've lost people. It's devastating. People are badly harmed. We're done, right? And then at the last hour, you have a betrayal. And it's not like Casca liked him, but I certainly didn't expect him to just betray him and all of his men just turning and taking down everybody in their path. I mean, it made sense, but I just didn't see it coming, you know? Couple of other little things that I liked, Ardy and Finry's matchmaking. Joppo, who only got a brief little moment, but basically Shivers' son, yeah? Are we all on the same page here? Like, is Joppo Shivers' son? Next book, man. Wow, what are we gonna do? I don't know. I feel like the breakers and the burners are gonna do something. Like, there's gonna be something happening there. Orso, after Savine told him that the child was his and that they're siblings. Like, what now? We didn't get a perspective from Orso after Savine dropped that bomb on him. So what now? Is this his unraveling? Did I just call it a book too early? Did he survive Savine unceremoniously dumping him and rose above it? But now that he knows what she knows, that'll be the final straw? Or is he gonna rise above this too? What? What are you gonna do, Orso? You know what I mean? I don't know. I feel like there's a million directions that this could go in the next book, and I'm just ready to see, you know? I'm just ready to see. Abercrombie writes books that are I sink into them. And I had a great time reading this one. But I'd love to hear your thoughts. There's some things that I didn't mention because there's a lot that happened in this chunker of a story. I mean, it was only like 500 pages. It wasn't that big, but you know, there's a lot of things that happened here. So chat with me about some of the stuff that I kind of skipped over. Correct me on the stuff that I misunderstood, because it happens. It happens. And just tell me who your favorite character is. I think Orso or Savine. Orso and Savine are my two. Maybe Orso. A little bit more, maybe. I don't know. Anyway, feel free to chat with me more about it in the comments. I post videos every Tuesday and Thursday on this channel, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday on my main channel, which is always linked in the description of my videos. I'll see you again soon. Bye.